Welcome to the Blackburn Inn podcast. Here we are again after a few weeks of positives. We're back to earth with a bump. But hey, that's football. So Rovers are smarting at the EFL's ruling that the Ipswich result is null and void and the game shall be replayed in full. The club and fan base are fuming after everything is chalked off, except for the red card that Ipswich got. That will undoubtedly be a future quiz question of who got suspended in a game that never happened. The club are in the headlines as the Lancashire Telegraph are banned from the club. Rovers then travel south to face Charlton and lose 3-0 with the fans aiming their frustrations at the referee. And it's 2 home games in a week as Swansea and Stoke visit Ewood. Would it be a happy homecoming? I hope so. But some positive news is that the Indian courts have ruled that Venkys no longer need to provide a personal guarantee to send funds. Mark, it's been a hell of a week, hasn't it?
Well, it certainly has, Mike. It's not been the most positive of weeks. We thought it might settle down now the transfer window's been done, and in true Rovers style, they've kept us nice and busy.
I know people say to us, they're like, oh, you know, we think you guys are overly positive. We have people saying, oh, why are you always negative? And it's really funny. We've said it before, but the club aren't helping us here.
No, it's... Yeah, we're going to struggle this week to be really positive, but I'm going to try. I'm going to try and give a really balanced viewpoint. I'm going to try. Someone said they didn't know I could smile the other week. I was like, listen, I can smile. I just support Blackburn Rovers.
And it just makes it a little bit more difficult. Well, let's get into the game. We'll get into the subjects later. We'll start off with the game as we normally do. We have a normal match reaction, which is a little bit longer than we did with the Ipswich one. So let's just play that.
Well, Blackburn Rovers, you have made an absolute mug of me there. I said on the pod that these were there for the taking. And to be honest, I thought they were. I didn't think they were fantastic. I just thought we were that poor. I mean, the scoreline I don't think really tells the full story, but we were slow on the ball. We were second to everything. The decision making at time was pretty awful. We couldn't do the basics. It just seemed really, really sloppy, and we just didn't turn up. You know, like I said, they were there for the taking. We just didn't turn up to take anything. So they've just made an absolute mug of me there. Yes, okay, we can talk about some of the decisions against us, but we still weren't good enough. The subs didn't do anything. The tactical change wasn't great, but it was a tough week off the pitch, and now it's a tough week on the pitch. I just think that we've got to really sort it out for Tuesday. But we just seem like we're a feast or famine team. Like we're either scoring and everything looks great, or everything looks awful. It's one or the other. It rarely am I saying, oh, well, it was a mere performance or we've scrapped it. It just seems like it's one or the other. Yeah, pretty disappointed today, pretty embarrassed. It's just a shame because whenever we see something that we can build on, and it's just taken away, and that is the Blackburn Rovers way.
I thought that was really poor, Mike. I know we've said at the beginning of the season, given the transition, the big turnover, the new project, whatever word you want to describe it, we knew we were going to be inconsistent. But I thought Wharton did okay. And I thought Ohashi held the ball up, although his XG must be about 0.01. Marishta did look dangerous for the first 5-10 minutes, then disappeared. Tavares did okay when he came on, actually. But other than that, I thought we were really, really poor. I thought we got worse as the game went on. Thought our heads really dropped. Tronstad, well, there's no excuse in terms of transition for him, and he looked like he didn't even know what team he was supposed to be passing to. They bullied us. It was very reminiscent of a Luton game against Nathan Jones. What was it, 2-3 years ago? We were just bullied. We were, I wouldn't say outplayed, but they just were too wise and determined for us, and that's worrying. Yeah, it's all right saying we beat Watford and we should have beat Ipswich and we'd have been 9th, 10th, and then this would have had us maybe 14th, say. But we're not. We are where we are, and we've got to start getting some results now. starting Tuesday. Not looking forward to the pod in some ways, mate, but let's break it down.
Yeah, we've got a job to do, so let's get on with it. I think to start with, I don't think I gave Charlton enough respect in my initial audio reaction, which was done near enough straight away. Because when I do mine, I take myself off to a quiet corner in the car, wherever it is, and I just have a little think and then make a couple of mental notes and then just blurt it out. And I don't think I gave Charlton enough respect, but I do think that they were there for the sake. I mean, I can't stand Nathan Jones for a start. He's one of the people that just really do my head in. But as far as I'm concerned, the club have told us that these signings are good, and we've seen glimpses of them. So I've adapted my expectations accordingly, and I've seen enough now to know that we should have been playing better than that. And that's what frustrated me, because it just seemed like it was just completely blown out the water from how we played over the previous weeks. Now, I don't expect us to play perfect football every single week. That's just, it's just pie in the sky that would happen. But it was like we just completely forgot how to play football, and it was like they were strangers. I looked at the starting lineup, and I was really happy with the starting lineup. It had been doing well. We said last week, let's not make the changes. If it's not broke, don't fix it. And then here we are.
Yeah, I fully agree. I think, beforehand, obviously, I did the preview with the Charlton fan, and he was saying that at home they're really strong, and it was very similar to every Nathan Jones team, really, that you find, other than the Southampton one he had. But my hope was that we've been told this summer that we're going to be more athletic, we're going to be stronger, we're going to be bigger, so we weren't going to be bullied anymore. And I thought for the first 10 minutes or so, I thought Marishta looked bright. I thought he was giving Amari Bell absolute nightmares. And I thought, that's the Amari Bell I remember. And then they got an injury. And Amari Bell goes onto the wing. Wing back. And they nullified what we were doing very, very quickly. And I thought that the threat that they provided out wide was nothing. There was no great trickery in it. It was just pace and power. I thought Campbell has been an obvious danger, and I think Nathan Jones has been quoted today as we record this saying he thought Campbell was the danger man. They stopped him. I fully agree. They put Coventry on him, and not the whole team Coventry, the player Coventry, and just completely nullified Campbell from the game. But what worried me was, I've seen this now 2 or 3 times. I think West Brom did a job on us, and I kind of wrote that one off as first game of the season. But I've seen 2 or 3 times so far teams play against us in a way that's quite easy to set up against us. I think if you are big, strong, and direct, we don't really cope with that very well. And what worried me was, I don't think there was a lack of effort from the players. I think they gave 100%. But I think mentally they didn't feel we could get back into that game quite early on. And that worried me. I thought their hearts were not quite in it. And I don't mean that they could have done anymore. I think they looked a beaten team very early. And it worried me. I thought that Lewis Miller, I've thought for weeks now, Lewis Miller's not a centre half. He might grow into one, but I think positionally he was all over the place. I thought Pickering, understandably, looked really short of match fitness. Meant Wharton was getting caught behind a little bit, but I thought he did okay. Alebiosu's knock clearly affected him. And once you don't have Campbell firing, you're struggling. And it showed.
Yeah, and you're looking at the starting lineup. We spoke about how we've said previously, sometimes you need to rotate just to freshen up. Everyone could be fit, everyone could be ready, but sometimes you need to do it to freshen up. You have those tactical changes because then it gives them something to think about. If you've given them a few games to look at of the same starting lineup, they kind of know what's going to go. So you've got to throw a curveball in there. But I still felt like we should have kept this team. And when I saw it, like I said, I was really happy. I think Cantwell was a little bit of a surprise that he was actually starting because of other issues that he's got. But But yeah, I seemed happy enough. I mean, looking at the team now that we take from whoscored.com, the ratings are pretty poor for most of the subs that came on, which was quite funny because I did want to bring that up about how the managerial changes didn't seem to work. We shifted things a little bit tactically, and we shifted things with personnel, and it just didn't seem to work at all. But I completely agree. I thought that they just outworked us. There was way more determination from their side, and that frustrates me. It really frustrates me because it doesn't take much to have effort at this level. You know, that should be the bare minimum, and they just looked physically broken. I mean, it was quite funny because we talked about the new ethos being bigger, stronger, faster, but it's so weird because it feels like it's there, but we just didn't play like that. It was like we was running in treacle at times. I mean, Cargbo's supposed to be this really fast player, but I haven't seen it for a couple of games from him now. In fact, I think he's been chased down by some big centre backs, and it's just really strange. When we started the game, I felt like we were doing okay. I thought that we had relative control, and it was gonna break out, but it just didn't. It just didn't break out, and that's the concern. That even in that final third, we just couldn't really create much that was going to be, a deadly finish.
No, I never felt like we were really threatening. I think Hashi's doing a good job for the team, and I think he's doing a job. I think he's been asked to do that because Good Johnson came on and did a similar thing, dropping quite deep, holding the ball, linking the play. He's doing that really well, but he's providing no goal threat. I mean, if you check his expected goals right now, which whatever you think of them, but it must be around 0.02. He's nowhere near the box. Now, some of that's because he's nowhere near the box, and some of that is because the players surrounding him are nowhere near the box either. But I think Charlton didn't do anything miraculous. They were solid, they were big, they played long, they played fast, and they got stuck in. Coventry man Mark Cantwell, and other than that, it was a pretty basic team instruction, and it was far better than what we had to offer on the day. I'm looking at the team there, and we're talking about bigger, faster, stronger. Alibiosu, I think you give him a pass because he's growing by the looks of it. Mm-hmm. Miller, he's yet to convince me he's a centre half. I think it's unfair to judge him there at the minute. He might grow into one. He might have the attributes to go into one, but positionally, he doesn't look like he knows how to play that position, which is not a surprise when he's only played there in a 3 really previously. Tronstad's not the fastest, and I thought he was appalling at weekend. It's not a personal criticism of him, other than I just think he had a horrific game. He couldn't find one of our shirts. I thought Gardner Hickman struggled a little bit, for being perfectly honest as well. I thought he really struggled at right back. Hedges, I think this is a game where Hedges gets people having a pop at him, but actually, he's just doing what Hedges normally does. It's just you're expecting something to come from him that, you're expecting him to give us a spark. And Maristra, I thought after, he was giving Bell nightmares, but once Bell went, he was cutting inside, wasn't he, just between them. Once they had the change, he didn't get past the fullback once. And nothing, like you've said, absolutely nothing changed when the subs came on.
Yeah, and that was what was quite scary for me because the subs started to come on in the second half. So obviously it was forced into a change, and that meant a little bit of a tactical one with Tavares coming on for Ali Biosu. But, Cargbo coming on, we talked about him being a great option to come on, and it would frighten someone with that kind of pace coming on and then having a go at me. But it just seemed like he was running in treacle, and he didn't seem to be doing much. I saw a lot of people on social media saying that they're yet to be convinced he's even a footballer. And I said at the start of the season he was going to be my sneaky pick for player of the season. Well, if he carries on playing how he's playing, I'm not even sure he'll get any more games for the club at the moment, because he seems to just be going backwards. Because his job for me was just run at the defender, knock it past him, sprint, get across him. That was your basic job. And he wasn't doing that. I thought Good Johnson coming on didn't really offer much. And then Matt Targay was that plan C or D that we just threw him on. And I mean, he did manage to get his offside in there, which was quite funny. But yeah, it just didn't seem like it was going to go our way. And obviously then we'd changed things tactically. We'd gone for it. They go and get their goal to kill the game off. And to be fair, was the second one the one where he's hit it from outside the area and...
it was a decent strike. But...
It was a decent strike. So I'll allow that. But for what I was seeing, it seemed like it was very basic things we weren't doing right. We couldn't get the ball from A to B. Our tackles just seemed last ditch, and it seemed like we was all at 6s and 7s. And we looked out of ideas. Now, we can point at the penalty decision. We can point at other things that didn't seem to go our way with the ref. But I've said before, I'll say it again, if you're relying on these one or two decisions, it's you're not doing your bit, and that's what we need to do. So let's talk about that penalty decision. I can understand why it wasn't given personally. As much as I want it given, I can understand why it wasn't. But my instinct initially was that looks unnatural and it's got to be a penalty. But I think that's just me being a Rovers fan. What was your thoughts on the penalty?
I think it was a penalty. I'm kind of similar to you. I can understand why not, but I think it was. I think it was in a position it's difficult to justify. I certainly think it's one of them. If it had have been given and it had gone to VAR, it's not getting overturned. Is it one of them that you get at home, maybe not away, possibly? But yeah, it's disappointing. But what stands out for me in the graphic you've got there, Mike, is how quickly they scored after their sub. And then Tavares comes on. All right. I understand why he's done that instead of maybe bringing McLaughlin on or whatever he wanted to do. And he's given it a change. Didn't really make any difference. Thought Tavares did okay, but didn't, he's not somebody who's grabbing the game by the scruff of the neck. And then he's let that run for another 15 minutes from half time. And he's gone, right, double sub. Cardboard come on for Marishta. Ohashi's done okay and he's buzzed around. Good Johnson comes on and let's try and offer something different. Right. Two players that have come on together quite a bit. One's got loads of pace, one's got power, and we're hoping some attacking ability. Absolutely nothing changed. It was like they just cloned the people they come on for. Cardboard looks like he is absolutely devoid of any confidence. And then Gay comes on. And I thought, oh, all right. So we're changing it up a bit. Nothing really changed. And then they scored and that was it. Game over. Absolutely game over at that point, 78 minutes. Which is ironic when we consider that Ipswich felt there was a game to be had at the 79th minute. But anyway, but it was. We could have played till Christmas and we weren't going to score. The only team that was going to get more goals in that game was Charlton. I think what I am trying to hold on to is I have said for a few weeks now, and the club have talked about this transition, we're going to get inconsistent games. We are going to get games that we just are not at the races. We've had them before. We had them, you get Plymouths away, don't you? We've had them seasons and seasons now. They always seem to be at teams that are promoted. But we turn up at games and we just have a team that you don't recognise from us comes out. And you think, where's that come from? We had the one at Hull where we went, where's that come from in a positive way? It's going to be inconsistent this year. We know that. My only thing with that is you look at that starting lineup, Todd, okay, but you've got Wharton, Pickering, Tronstad, Cantwell, Marishta's experienced, Ohashi and Hedges are not new to the team. And I'm just a little bit concerned at how easy it was to play against us. And how quickly it felt like the team lost belief in what we were doing and that they could get back in the game. I'm hoping this is one blip and we're still learning about this team. We're still learning about, is it inconsistency? Is it the makeup of the team? I've seen two really good examples against Watford and Ipswich that I really liked. I've seen something I really didn't like. We've got to make this a blip and just one little dip in the inconsistencies. It can't become norm, because the problem we've got now is, whilst it's incredibly unfair that we didn't get any points or a chance to play the final 10 minutes against Ipswich, we are where we are. We can whinge about that all day long. We are in the absolute pap at the minute in terms of league position, 6 games in, but it soon becomes a big problem. We have to get at least 4 points from the next 2 games, 2 home games, because even if we got to 10 points as we are standing, we'd only be 11th. You've got to imagine teams above and around us will pick points up. So we could still be, even if realistically, if we go and get 4 points, we could still find ourselves in 19th, 17th. It's still been a poor start, albeit I feel very sorry for them in some senses. But results have got to become the priority now. And I'm not saying they're not making the priority, but we've got to get 4 points. I don't really care what it looks like in the next 2 games.
Yeah, and we'll talk about the Ipswich game in just a second, but I think we do need to kind of acknowledge that and the start of the season that we've had, because as you can see by the league table here, we are 20th. It's a mixed bag of forms, only 6 points out of 6 games. Now, we could talk like the Ipswich game was a win, and at worst, it would have been a draw, in my opinion. I don't think we was ever going to lose that game. I still think that, as far as I'm concerned, it's been a relatively poor start. I think we've seen, the term I keep using is glimpses. We keep seeing glimpses of what we can do, but it has been a relatively poor start. And we do need to build on it. And the performance wasn't there. Now, when we came out the international break, we said the Watford game, I'm not bothered about the performance. I just want to get the results. Now, the performance was decent. In fact, it was good. And we got the results. Then we go to Ipswich. Ipswich come to us. And, okay, it wasn't a win, but it was a performance. And we put a very good side to one side. And we was winning 1-0 with 10 minutes to go. So I'm not going to be too extreme and say, that it's all doom and gloom. But I am concerned about the lack of points. So the performances there, we know that we can get the performances. This game, the performances wasn't there, but I'm still not ready to give up on the players. I'm still not ready to throw the towel in, but we just need points now. It's points. So Ismaël needs to find some way of cracking it, because to have a game like that where you're playing a side like Charlton that are going to be in your face, they're going to be determined because that's what the manager wants them to do. You need to be up for it, and we didn't look up for it. It looked like if it wasn't going our way, and that was it, like you say, we completely gave up. And that's what's frustrating for me, because they're professional footballers. You should never give up. That is the one thing. And it just looked like they were out of ideas. And when the subs are coming on, and I mean, look at the ratings that they got in the game. I don't think the starting lineup ratings are correct on this, to be honest. I mean, Miller getting a 7.5. I don't think it was a 7.5. Some of them getting mid 6s to 7s. I don't get that. But then the subs coming on and getting the 5s. I just think it was a pretty poor performance, and that's what concerned me, because we now need points. The league's telling us we now need points. It's early on in the season, but you want that buffer now.
Yeah, I don't think we're a million miles away, but I think the concerns, just looking purely at the numbers there, the concerns are what we had at the beginning of the season. We've played 6 games. We've scored 5 goals. We've only conceded 8, which is fortunate. I don't mean it's fortunate we only conceded 8. But before, obviously Saturday's game, we'd conceded 1 goal a game. And I think that's reflective of the fact that we've got a very good defensive unit, albeit it's being decimated a little bit. But I'm worried about us scoring goals. And I'm worried about the fact we don't really have chances in a game. We're talking there about a penalty. Yeah. It was a penalty against Ipswich. We're not creating much. So I'm not having a pop at Yuki Ohashi. I think he's doing a really good job for the team. He's on the ball. He's linking play really well. He's never in the box. Now, whether that's by design, I think it probably is to some extent. But we are not creating. We're not looking at any game and we've gone, there was the whole game aside. I don't think we've underperformed in terms of the goals we've got to the goals that we should have had. So the Ipswich game, I don't really remember loads of chances where I was thinking, oh, we could have scored that. Similar against Watford. You know, it was a good performance. It was a solid performance, but it wasn't like we peppered their goal and there was, oh, well, that should have gone in. And this Norwich seems, from memory, was the same. It was definitely the same against Charlton. I mean, did their keeper even have saves to make? I don't recall one, but it was. I'm worried about the lack of chances we're creating. They always say if you're talking about a striker, it's not when he doesn't score that you've got to worry. It's when he's not getting chances. Well, none of them are getting chances in our team right now.
Yeah, and that is a concern because we have spoken about, you know, getting good Johnson and so on. He came in and he didn't seem to change much. And
no, yeah,
but it is early days, and we try not to be too negative.
Oh yeah. No,
and you know,
and
we try not to be too negative, but
we've had 2 decent games, and it would feel different had we been played 7 games and been sat on 9 points, and we were. What would we be there looking at that? We would be 14th. It would feel different. It would. And there's no getting away from that. And they're unfortunate with that. But what I go back to is we are where we are, though. And that's why we need some points now. Just to shut down the conversation of, oh, my goodness, we need to look over our shoulder. The team's going to take time to bed in. I get that. It's going to take time. There's going to be ups and downs. My point is, I think we just need to get some points on the board very quickly before it becomes these players. It's one thing bedding into a team that's nice and stable in terms of league position. It's another when you absolutely need points and you're looking over your shoulder. And I'm looking at the weekend's performance, and there was just, ironically, a glimpse of they don't think they can get back in this game. Why? And that worried me.
No, completely agree. And before I ask you the 3-word reactions, I think that's what frustrated the fan base, because I was going through a lot of their comments. Obviously, we follow a lot of people, and there was a lot of people that just seemed to be very, very frustrated. And I was, and the more I talk about it, the more frustrated I'm getting, because I've seen enough of the players to know that they're better than that. And
yeah.
I don't think the blip was the result, the good results. I think the blip is the bad result and the bad performance. And that's what's frustrating, because I don't think it was a 3-0 game. I could understand us going on to lose that a 1-0. I don't think they deserved a third goal at all. But yeah, frustrating. So any favourite 3-word reactions?
I think favourite might be the wrong word. So I got, I mean, people say that we're over the top. Derek at Rover Excited. Worst performance ever. We've got goal-driven coach. We need consistency. I think that's the key here. I think that's what we're seeing. Gareth Moores, I love this. He had 2 different ones. Worst this season, and then it's one game. That's probably how I felt in the same breath. But Graham Kendall, been here before, and then the final one was, we need points, and that's where I'm at. Let's just get some points, because what I don't want is people like Alabiosu, Tavares, Miller, and then you've started to look at some of the younger ones that are going to come through. Henriksen obviously has not been playing much, Deneva. They can't come into a team that's looking over their shoulder, and I don't think they deserve to be right now. And I feel very, very desperately sorry for them and us, but we are where we are. So get some points, shut that conversation down, and let the season just start rolling a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not panicking. We've got to talk about these games in isolation. When we do the match reviews, the audio match reviews, it's all based on what we've seen right there, the raw emotion of it. Then obviously we sit down, we'd watch the games again. We start discussing a little bit more, and sometimes you look at yourself and you think, okay, maybe I am being a little bit negative. Sometimes I look at myself and think, you know, maybe I've got it wrong. And with this one, I think I'm ready to move on. It's quite funny because Ismaël's said he's saying it's not the right time to be angry. You know, we've got another game to go to, and that is home against Swansea. So we now move into this game where we seem to have a mixed bag against Swansea. How you feel like this one's going to
go? I've watched Swansea a little bit this season, actually, and I'm going to jinx this. I don't think we've anything to fear greatly. I put them in the same bracket as a Watford. I think they are a team that they'll come up with the odd result. They'll go and beat a top of the table team, but then they'll stutter for a few weeks. I think at Ewood Park, that's a team we have to be beating. It's a game we have to go, set the tone early on, and we have to go and get... I want to see us win convincingly. I don't mean 4 or 5-0, but I want us to look like we're not really in any danger. Go and put them to the sword. Similarly to us, they played 7 goals for 7, goals against 6. That would suggest there's not going to be many goals in the game. But I did say that at weekend, and then we conceded 3. So I'm going to say there's not going to be many goals, and I hope the home team wins 3-0 again.
Well, after I said what I said last week about how Charlton are there for the taking, I think I have to give him my prediction card and never use it again, because I seem to remember the first time I started predicting was a Swansea game and I got it completely wrong. So I don't want to do it again. But I do want the performance. I want that showing that it did hurt. Like Ismaël saying, no, now's not the time to be angry. I want them to be angry. I want them to come out and prove that they really want to make up for that result and to get back to putting some performances in. You know, you look at our form and it doesn't include that Ipswich game, but it's a mixed bag. It's a mixed bag, and I want to see some solid performances now, as well as getting some points. And I agree. I think they are there as well for us to go and get something from. We are at home. The pitch should have dried out nicely, and we should be able to actually get the game completed. I want us now to pick up some points, but I'm greedy. I want a performance as well.
Yeah, I think, I've basically questioned their whether they quit, some of them players. And I think once you do that once, it's always most difficult to quit the first time. And I saw it in them. I saw it in some of those players. Now, hopefully, I'm not inside their brains, so hopefully I was mistaken. Hopefully, they were exhausted. Hopefully, they were extenuating circumstances. I think you don't know what's happening in their personal lives. You don't know whether they have the most horrific journey down. You don't know if the team was changed 2 hours before kickoff because somebody could play and they weren't supposed to be playing. All these things can disrupt things. You don't know if they need a cap and the person on the bench really wanted to wear it. Various things will disrupt people's routines, and you don't know how much impact it has because you're not inside their brains. So yes, I am saying I felt it looked to me like some of those players quit, and that I'm pausing that for now because I need to see that not happen again. I'm hoping that they have faith in what's happening, what we're doing, and I'm hoping that we'll have a big reaction and that actually they'll go, that's not me, that's not us. Right, Swansea, you're getting it.
I hope so. I hope that they find something within them where they want to prove some of the doubters wrong. And it's strange because we've had a couple of good results in the last 4 official games. If you include the Ipswich one, we would have had 3 really good performances in the last 4 or 5 games, and you'd be saying it was a blip against Charlton, but I don't know. There was just something. It had that feeling of when we watched that Blues game when we won, and you just come away from you like there's just something not right there, and I'm worried that this could turn into something bigger, and I think that's the thing for me. I'm worried it could turn into something bigger, and it could turn into a pretty poor run of form, and we can't allow that to happen. So I'm hoping that this game is one where it does turn around. I want us to get 3 points. I don't care how we do it. I just want the 3 points.
Yeah, I think I'm similar, but whilst I'm saying this, I've seen us. Remember under Thomason, the season that we played some good football. Do you remember 1 week we were playing like Brazil, and the next week we were playing like Bradford? We went to Coventry, and I didn't recognise that team away from home. That midweek games were horrific for us. So sometimes it just happens in teams. It doesn't mean it's going to happen every week. And I'm hoping it's just an inconsistency due to the changes, due to, Campbell talked about it being a difficult week. Whether he's took it personally or team-wise, I don't know. I'm hoping the distractions off the pitch haven't got through to the team. But whatever it is, move on from it and go and prove who you actually are. And I think they will. I do think we'll have a really positive week.
I hope so, because we're now going to start playing a very difficult side that's had a good start to the season, and that is Stoke. It's a little bit out there that they've started how they've started. Again, we seem to have a little bit of a mixed bag. Stoke used to be the kind of team that we would do well against, but actually they've had our number the last few games.
Yeah, I mean, particularly at the Britannia, I've got some Bet365, what it was called. I've got some decent memories. It's only about an hour away. I usually have a nice little day out in Manchester at the same time. It comes around Christmas, and we usually win. But it's not been the case in the last few games against them. But they've started really well. I do know some Stoke fans. I'm doing a preview with them hopefully this week. They're really confident. They are absolutely flying. They've not got players who on paper you would look at and go, wow, they're going to make us much better. But Lewis Baker that they've got is not the Lewis Baker we had. Sober Thomas they've got is definitely not the Sober Thomas we had. He's turned into some sort of world beater in their opinion. But the Sam Gallagher they've got is the Sam Gallagher we had. So that's good to know. But they're flying, absolutely flying. They are full of confidence. They've scored 10 in 7, only conceded 5. And you look at that record that you've put up there, mate. So ignore the Bradford game. At least we're not the only ones who lose to Bradford, but they lost to West Brom at home. Then they beat Birmingham at home, lost to QPR. They drawn with Norwich. But earlier on in the season, they had some really good results. And I'm hoping it's tailoring off a little bit looking at that. But they are away first. We're at home. So with 2 home games, with no travelling excuse. There's not really, I mean, Carter's injured and Garrett, but there's not major injuries. So I think it gives that performance gives Ismaël a bit of license to mix it up a little bit as well. You might well see Good Johnson start. You might see Cardboard start. Who knows? But I'm thinking that we are going to have a real positive week, if I'm being honest. Stoke, I don't care how they've started. They're nothing major that we need to be terrified of. I'm not looking at their starting 11 and going, bloody hell. They've got Mufumbu, haven't they, from Man City, who's an absolute handful. Mbama, sorry. And he's a real handful. He's somebody that Rovers looked at apparently last year, but they felt he wasn't quite ready. He's been on the cusp of City's team. He's a big old unit. He's a good player, but he's a young kid at the end of the day. He's younger than Good Johnson. He's not played as many international games. He's way younger than Ohashi. He's not Marishta. We've got players that can cause them. I think we focus on ourselves, and I'm expecting a positive week.
Yeah, and we're due to have a run of form which we can get behind and enjoy. And I've seen enough of these players. I said it earlier. I've seen enough of these players to know they have the talent to be able to do it. It's just trying to get them together. There's a couple of ones that are kind of concerning me a little bit, but generally, your Marishtas, your Good Johnsons, they've got talent there. We just need to harness it. We need to see some rotation now, because I think when you've played a game like we've just had and it's not quite gone, I think Ismaël's earned the right to rotate. Where he does it and how he does it is another thing. But we've now got 2 games. So we have the game Saturday, game Tuesday, game Saturday. We can't risk any more injuries, so we need to see some rotation. Ali Biasu probably won't play, will he? Is he
said he's going to have a late fitness test, but this is. I was going to bring him up actually because I think he's quite integral to the way we're playing in his athleticism and how he gets up and down. The only other player we've got in the squad that can do something remotely similar is Lewis Miller. But the fact that Lewis Miller is desperately needed at centre half, unless we're going to play two left footers and then have no centre half on the bench, I can't see him doing that. So it's going to have to be Gardner Hickman, who I think does a job there, but he doesn't look like a right back when you look at him. And I think next to Miller, who's not a centre half yet, is not a good combination. So I think the game will hinge on that decision he makes there. And only he will know what decision is able to be made. But you're right, Alibiosu's picked a bit of a muscle niggle up. That will be because of how many games he's been playing. To go and play 3 games in a week is not going to help the situation.
No, and that's what we've said is the concern about depth all along. You can have as many players as you want, but it's quality and depth as well. And Alibiosu started well, and like you say, he has been integral. We seem to have fallen upon a player there that is very good, and it's a shame. But you've got to save these players from themselves and have that rotation, and that rotation needs to come this week. It's quite ironic that it's coming the defensive side where we've been talking about how we shouldn't have let a certain person go because we needed that depth. But let's see what happens. I don't want to really give any predictions on these games. I just want to see some points. I'll take 4 points. I really would, and I think any Rovers fan would. But we can dream for 6, can't we?
Oh, I am dreaming for 6. 4, I'm settling for.
So before we move on, Mark, we've got a bit of a competition. Do you want to explain the competition to everyone?
Yeah, so we have had some very exciting news. So we know that Mark likes a mug, and this is my latest one. So it's the 3rd shirt. There we are. It's looking nice. Oh, Mike. Oh, I've gone for Good Johnson. I'm decided he is going to be the next coming. Let's have a look at yours again, Mike. So we've got that's a 95-96 keeper's kit.
Yeah, and they put my name and number on the back.
So these are from the Terrace. They do some Rovers stuff. They have some Rovers. What sort of stuff do they have? Kit, t-shirts, hoodies. They have glass. They have loads of mugs, coasters, the whole range, and they've done a competition with us, Mike. So we will put this out on our X. You have to follow us on X and follow the Terrace, and then you can be in with a chance to win the 3rd kit mug. But it gets better than that, Mike. If you can't wait for the result of that, or you think, actually, I'm going to have a little gander on their website and there's something that tickles your fancy, we'll put this out. But if you put in on their website, we are big time, and you go to discount code and you put the end because of the Blackburn end, you get 10% off your order, Mike, because we are big time, and the Terrace has decided that they agree. Don't worry.
I love stuff like this as well.
Oh, look, our logo there next to 2 other tremendous logos. But yeah, so if you want to have yourself one of these or one of Mike's or whatever else, get yourself onto the Terrace store. They're not paying us. We're just teaming up with them because we like Rovers kits. We like stuff like, as you'll see, I have loads of them. I've got a coaster knocking around here of the pink kit that was my daughter's. I've just borrowed it from her. Yeah, so great stuff. I love stuff like that. They do mouse mats, bar runners, the whole thing. I spend too much money on there. But now I'm going to get 10% off with the end. I don't know when that runs out. I will find out, and I'll make sure it's on our socials. But enter the competition anyway. You have to follow us on X, follow Terrace on X, and that's pretty much it. But the information's all on our X, or it will be. Competition closes on 27th of October. You have to share the post as well, of course. While you're there, vote for us on the FCA Awards.
Exactly. So if you're clicking away and you're getting this 10% off, subscribe on YouTube. Make sure you share the pod. That's all the good stuff. But yeah, the Football Content Awards, Best Content Creator in the Football League. If you can vote for us there, it'll be fantastic. There's loads of people saying that they've been voting for us, which is absolutely brilliant. We appreciate the support. Like we said, we're just a couple of guys that just enjoy talking Rovers, and for some mad reason, people listen, and it's great. And we just love the fact that you all join in. You're all in the comments and chatting to each other, and we've created a bit of a community, and we love it. So yeah, if you can vote for us, that would be amazing. But yeah, that competition there, it's great that the Terrace has asked us to do this, and yeah, make sure you get your 10% off.
Well, I mean, we are far too generous to you guys. We don't ask for any money. We just do this out of the goodness of our heart. We do get offered the occasional pint if we've seen it away games, and that's fine. That's nice. But what I would say is, this is the kind of thing, by you subscribing on YouTube, they look at us and go, oh, I won't mind just having a little bit of a promoting of that, but that means we get 10% off for everyone else. So the other thing I would say is, whilst you're on the Football Content Awards, which is footballcontentawards.com, voting. You can put it in Google, Football Content Awards, voting. Scroll down to us, and we are under the Best Club Content Creator Football League, the Blackburn end. But under Best Young Content Creator, there is also a Blackburn Rovers fan under there. He's called Hugo and Mum Football Adventures, mainly on TikTok. We're not too old for TikTok, me and Mike. We don't do any of the dances, but we have a presence on there, and we actually do really well, Mike. But I don't know why. But yeah, Hugo's on there, and he does vlogs, I believe the phrase is. So he videos himself at away games into a 2-minute segment. Must take him ages doing the editing. What a good lad. And he's put a couple of posts out saying, please vote for me, blah, blah, blah. There was a piece in the Lancashire Telegraph. Nice segue there for a minute. And he also said, please vote for the Blackburn end. Thank you, Hugo. We're returning the favour. Please vote for us both. You don't have to put any details in. You just click on us, click on him, click on a tick at the bottom saying, yes, I agree to vote for them. Don't put any of your name in, any of your email, any of your phone number. You're not going to get spammed. Click send, submit, whatever it is. Rovers don't know the difference either. And job done.
Done. That's it. Yeah, make sure you support all the both of us in that, because he does do great work. But yeah, it is a great segue. Now we need to. That's all the positive stuff. We've talked about we're going to get 6 points this week. We've talked about the competition. We've talked about the content awards for both us and Hugo. We've talked about how these players are going to be, doing well for us. Now we need to come back down to earth, and a couple of things have happened this week. The Lancashire Evening Telegraph. Now, this has caused
Mike,
a lot of issues.
You're showing your age there. It's just the Lancashire Telegraph. It's been the Lancashire Telegraph for about 100 years, because they don't send it out in the evening anymore, Mike. It will always be the LET to me.
Yeah. It's because I've put LET in our notes.
But
it's always what it is? My granddad used to, because obviously we moved down here when I was younger. My granddad used to get them all and post them down to me. So every week I would get them through and I would read through, and it was always Lancashire Evening Telegraph. How amazing was it that he did that for me?
That's class.
So anyway, the not Lancashire Evening Telegraph have been banned. So this has caused a lot of issues. The timing of it isn't fantastic with everything else that's going on with the Ipswich game and, losing 3-0 to Charlton. It's caused a lot of problems, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's, I think Henry Winter, a well-known journalist, Talk Sport, have talked about it. I think the Second Tier podcast, which is obviously not as good as ours, various media outlets have picked up on it. And what it's done once again is the football club have been... People don't read the ins and outs of it. They don't know the details. Some of them don't care about the detail. But once again, after the women's team, we actually had some positive publicity off the Ipswich game. People saying they felt sorry for us. People saying that this is not fair on Blackburn, sticking up for us. And they could have gone the other way, saying, do you know what, they've had a game called off recently. This one's now been called off. They could have had a pop at us, and they didn't. So actually, in the media, through nothing we've done, we're actually on a positive here. People are sticking up for us. And it feels like the club, once again, just go, hold my beer, I'll sort that out. And it's one saga to the next. And now we are being called from pillar to post because, once again, the PR of the club, the ins and outs of it, we will possibly never, ever know. I'm sure that the Telegraph know, and I'm sure Rovers have their side of it. It reads like they didn't want criticism. So then they've done another statement, which then you've got to remember, I know people have jobs, but I'm not a big fan of people being outed and named specifically. When you've got an organisation as big as Blackburn Rovers, to specifically name an individual, I think it's poor form. If that's their opinion, fine. Clarify. But if your statement's good enough in the first place, you shouldn't need to do another to clarify it. Because they put so much detail in both of them, what they're actually trying to say has got lost. Now, they're accusing Elliot Jackson in that of leaking team news, leaking stories that are not true, piling stories up and then putting them out at times that are not beneficial to the club. It's a far cry from Peter White. It always has been. But this is a horrific situation because, like you've just talked about your granddad there are still people around here, Mike, that they only believe it if it's in the Lancashire Telegraph or the Rovers website or the, wherever. They don't go on X, they don't go on Facebook, or they do, but if it's in the Telegraph, it is gospel. Now, if Rovers are right and some of the information is incorrect in there, that's one thing. But I have a massive issue with how this is being played out. No good can come from you publicly banning your local newspaper. The fans have an issue with communication at the club, and they have done for a long time. And you've blocked one of the key pathways to it, one of the only pathways for some of our supporters. And then I have an issue with the second statement. Well, forget the detail of it. I have an issue with an organisation as big as Blackburn Rovers singling out an individual. If they had an issue with me or you, now we don't get paid to do this, but park that for a second. If they had an issue with me or you and they put out a public statement naming us and having a right pop at us, whether they've got backup or not for it, I'm presuming they do because there's some pretty serious allegations. I just can't get on board with that. I really can't, no matter what happens. Even when they single out players, they didn't do that with Lewis Travis. They might have said certain things, but there wasn't a full statement on the website having a pop at Lewis Travis. I'm sorry. I just think that's not a good look for the club at all. And yet again, it feels like we're getting battered and we are the architects of our own downfall.
Yeah, I just feel like it could have been dealt with a hell of a lot better. Even if you feel like you haven't got a relationship with the local newspaper or you're not happy with how they're doing it, it just feels like it could have been done better.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, that's football. That is the business. You're going to have people writing. Well, I don't know Elliot Jackson at all personally, but if he's written something that they don't like, that's the world. That's the world we live in. That you've just got to suck it up and cope with it. By banning them, it just seems really petulant. It seems really, okay. It just seems to have been done in a very petulant way. They could have put statements out there without the banning, or just said, look, there's reports that have happened, there's things that have happened, and we completely don't agree. We feel like you're not getting the story that should be out there. I mean, there's loads of ways they could have done this, and this is the worst way, because it does seem like a very much I'm taking my ball and going home situation. And I don't know who's advised them to do it this way. I don't know who's made the decision, but it feels very, very petulant. It feels very childish the way it was done. And like you say, it's the local media is key. It really is. And the fans are only going to take the side of one thing, and it's going to be the local paper on that point.
Well, I mean, there's two statements that come out, and the only story that the world is hearing, footballing world, is that Blackburn Rovers have banned their local newspaper because they don't like what they're saying about them. Whether that's right or wrong, whether that's Rovers' version of events, that is what the version of events that's being played out. And not only are they banned them from coming to their own club, they're trying to ban them from turning up to opposition clubs. It's just horrific look.
Yeah, so it's a really bad way of doing it, and they didn't need to do it this way. And if they do want to challenge things, just if say Elliot Jackson's put something out there on X, just retweet it and say no, this is wrong, or put your side out. You know, if he's passed it, if you are really that bothered about what he has said or what he's saying, and it could be like you say, it could be us, it could be anyone. If we're putting stuff out on YouTube, social media, and in Elliot Jackson's case, on the website, if you're really unhappy about it, correct it. Put it out there and correct it. Just say, look, I don't agree with what's the wording of this or what's been said. This is our opinion of what's actually happened or whatever. Do it that way. By banning him and doing it this, it's like a power move that you're only going to be the one that loses. It's a very, very strange thing. And I don't know if there's precedent elsewhere for this kind. I know that certain newspapers have been banned in the past. I know Fergie's done it. I know Liverpool have done it. But it just feels very, very strange, and it feels like it's been misadvised.
Yeah, it's the handling of it. You know, we don't know the ins and outs of what's going on, of what they've said, but I mean, I gauge it from when I talk to people who are around me who maybe don't pay as much attention to Rovers as I do, which consumes my bloody life, regrettably. And I saw 4 or 5 people yesterday. I had a Manchester United fan, which I couldn't even laugh at him because of our performance. And he said, I believe Rovers don't like what their paper's writing about them, so they banned them. I spoke to a Rovers fan who just said, what they're doing. They've talked about they tried to bribe him by taking him on a tour, and now that they don't like, he still won't write what they want, so they're banning him. And that's people's opinions of what the club have put out. That's not what Elliot Jackson has put out. That's not what the Sun have put out. The Mirror, that's come on the back of Rovers' statements. So that tells you how badly they've handled it.
Well, time will tell how it's going to play out. I don't know whether this is a temporary thing or whether they're going to retract it, whatever. It's going to be really interesting. I hope it gets sorted. I hope Elliot Jackson gets his access back because, like you say, he's got access to the club that the likes of us and others can't. And he is the eyes and ears on the club that reports it. And the Telegraph is some a paper that's been around, like you say, from the Peter White days, and it needs to be at the club.
Yeah, 100%.
But anyway, so the other negative news was the Ipswich game. It's come out. I think Rovers are looking at appealing, or they're looking at different options. I think the thing with this decision, which has annoyed me, is that red card. It's like, it's just, I could get behind all of it. I could understand it had to be replayed. I hated it, and I really believe that the fairness would be to continue at the 80th minute and so on. But there's bigger arguments that I've seen both sides, but to then let the red card stand, and it wasn't even violent. If it was violent conduct, I could understand. But it's just so weird. So, like I say, it's going to be a future quiz question. Who got suspended for a red card in a game that never happened? It's a strange way that they've done it.
Yeah, the game either exists or it doesn't. I still think there is no other alternative than to play the last 10 minutes. It's a logistical nightmare, but that's the only way they could do it. Greaves, if they'd have even wrapped it up and said he's banned from the game against Blackburn, I'd have half got it, but not. I think for me, what you said there, the last bit was about the violent conduct. If he's gone and headbutted somebody or he's done something that's absolutely outrageous, he needs to punish him for it. A bit like you would do with a retrospective ban. But it's a professional foul in a game that never happened, with a foul that never happened, and a penalty that never happened, and a free kick that never happened, and a game that never happened. How can his red card stand?
It's so weird. And that to me is what's made the mockery of the whole thing, because we spoke about it to death last week, and we talked about all the different things that could happen. And I said then, and we both agreed, it was always going to get replayed. As much as we would love it to be this, that, and the other, it was always going to get replayed. We just knew deep down that was going to be the decision, and you could argue saying it's the right decision, wrong decision, whatever. But to have a suspension, like you say, where it's just weird, and that's what's made a mockery of it for me. But I think new rules will be created now about certain things. It's just a shame. It was funny because Ipswich fans went straight into the comments on YouTube and on X and all our socials saying, I don't know what Ipswich were in that game. We was easily going to come back, and it's obvious that you're just clutching at straws. I had people say, "Well, you didn't even win that game." It's like, no, I know we didn't win the game, but my gut feeling, and I tend to try and have a very balanced view, is that we wasn't going to lose that game. And we were definitely. I thought we was going to win. I was pretty convinced we were going to win. But yeah, really frustrating.
Yeah, I think it's completely the wrong decision. And that's not because I'm a Blackburn fan. I think it's completely the wrong decision. And I've seen enough neutral people or people who are anti-Blackburn that are saying the same thing. I think there's two things I would look at. I mean, but Ipswich fans are saying, "Oh, well, look at the Birmingham game." Yeah, but we weren't down to 10 men. Birmingham, sorry, weren't down to 10 men. And I look at the Norwich game like Ismaël did. And I know it's not in our favour, but just to prove a point of, we were battering Norwich and we looked like the team that was going to score, and yet we conceded again. That was the most direct comparison. I thought Ipswich was showing nothing in the game. Should we have just carried on playing? There's an argument potential for that, whether you could or you couldn't. But the thing with the EFL that I think is done for themselves and gives Rovers a real chance to appeal this is in the same statement. They didn't just say, and that will be the practice from now on. We'll consult with everyone to find the fairest way of doing this moving forward. So you're admitting this is not perfect. So you've got a problem then, haven't you? And the fact that the 3 championship clubs abstained from voting, I don't know how I feel, because yes, you kind of get that in some senses, but then what's the point in having them on the actual board? Are you trying to say they're not fair? If there's a conflict of interest in this, there surely is for numerous things. You either have club members or you don't. You go and get former members. You go and get Steve Waggett, who's an experienced football man, no longer at a football club. Bring him on the board, those kind of people. Or you have members of a club. If they can't vote on an issue that's affecting their league, do you not trust them? Or they not what's going on? The whole thing stinks. And I think they've probably not stuck to their own criteria of decision making, of rules. And I think Rovers have a real chance of taking this to somewhere and getting something out of it. I don't think it will be a 3 points, and I don't think it will for a second be that the game decision will change, but I do think something will come of it one way or another.
Yeah, and we are talking like we're going to go and get the 3 points. Obviously, we don't know that, and it could have gone either way. It really could. We just had a gut feeling that it was going to turn into 3 points. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. But one thing we did say last week is maybe the Venkys have put money into the pocket and sort out the drainage and sort out the pitch. Well, apparently their pockets now does mean that they don't need to give money to do personal guarantees, and that's all been sorted. It's still up in the air a little bit from what I've read about what it actually means, but maybe money could be spent on the club a little bit more from Venkys going forward.
Well, it sounds like they don't have to do the personal guarantee, doesn't it? So that would take it back to the summer that Thomason came to the club. So hopefully they've got less, would I be a little bit reluctant to go and spend £10 at Tesco if I had to put £10 into a piggy bank I might never touch that lived across the road? Yeah, I probably would. So if that's the situation they've been in all the time, then hopefully it loosens those purse strings a little bit. Just on the pitch, apparently the drainage wouldn't make much difference if they redid the pitch. There's solutions like looking at blotters like they have at cricket, but that would then have to be dispersed somewhere still. There are solutions potentially around what would help, but they are costly. And some of them you've got to argue whether actually to do with the river and not Blackburn Rovers. So I think there's a bigger issue there, but it does pee me off. I think the one thing that we'll be looking at is the EFL will be desperately hoping Blackburn Rovers win that replay, though, won't they? That's one thing for sure. Because that's the only thing that solves it.
Yeah, I was talking to my mate. My mate's an Ipswich fan. And I was talking to him. I said, it'd be funny if we go and then beat you 2-0 and you miss out on whatever you're going for by one goal.
By a goal.
I said, that'll just make me crazy because all that fighting, all that crying, and you would have lost out. So, yeah. Let's just go beat them anyway. But no, the money thing, the money thing is great. It's only this has only all been kind of confirmed in local papers and so on just before recording, so we haven't got all the information. We'll try and get more for next week. But one thing that people do ask, Mark, is about the next forum. Is there anything on dates or anything like that?
Yeah, it's a couple of weeks away. I can imagine that there'll be some pretty obvious topics on there. We are scheduled to talk about kits for the, I always get this wrong, so we're in the 25-26 season now. The 26-27 season designs will be done. So the 25-26 now. 26-27 will be done. 27-28 kits are the ones we can potentially have an input into, which I know will look bizarre when it comes out on Forum Minutes. People will be going, but they've got issues right now. Why are they talking about that? Because if we don't do it now, we don't get any input into those kits. So, So
I think we should go blue and white halves that year, mate.
Do you reckon?
Yeah, I think so. We'll mix it up and go blue and white halves.
I'll suggest it. I was thinking white and blue, but okay. But yeah, so the supporters groups, we do a pre-meet, we set the agenda. The supporters groups go away. So there's obviously We Are the Rovers Trust, there's Her Game 2, there's Proud Rovers, Disabled Supporters, Ewood Blues, BRFCS, various supporters groups on there. They go away after the agenda, look at what's on it, look at what there is. We're looking at the constitution for the forum, to be fair, looking at how we get more representatives, independent fans, if they think, do you know what, I've got a massive interest in kits, I want to attend that one, how they apply. So we are looking at how we make it a bit more accessible to everyone and a bit more open, because it's not a closed shop and it's not some sort of secret society, but we're trying to just get the messages out there a little bit. But yeah, it's could be another interesting meeting.
Yeah, you're definitely going to be busy because that is just the life of a Blackburn Rovers supporter, let alone being king of the forum, as I keep calling you.
I am not king of anything, let alone a forum.
But we've just gone over the hour mark. We're in injury time for us. We're trying to keep the pod nice and tight now. We've had some positive discussions. We've had a lot of negative. Next week, we are going to be more positive. We'll make sure that, you know, we're pointing in the right direction with some points on the board. I feel like this week's going to be better than last. What do you think?
Well, I hope so, Mike. And we use some software to produce this. And I don't know if you've noticed this. They've added a new feature. So if I click this button, nothing exciting is going to happen there. Oh, it does. Look at that. We have a little QR code. So if you get your pause our faces now, get your phone out, scan that. You're on Football Content Awards, voting page. Scroll down. Hugo and Adventures in the Young Content. Scroll down a bit further. And we are Football League content creators. Vote for the Blackburn end. Rumour has it, if you stick it on private browsing and you've got private relay on your iPhone, other phones are available, that it lets you vote more than once. So if you really want to vote for us, crack on.
Awesome. No, definitely do that. Do all the good stuff as well, liking, subscribing, sharing. Make sure that obviously you do all the good stuff there. But Mark, thanks for joining me this week.
No worries, buddy. I'm looking forward to 2 games this week. I'm going to get to watch 180 minutes of Rovers action. I cannot wait.
Exciting times, and we hope you all have a great week, and we're all going to be positive with 6 points on the board. We can dream. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time.